This one I wanted to watch last stream. It's about every single WoW player getting the fuck out of here. They're leaving WoW behind because they went over to a game with better, more fuckable graphics. And I have no idea why they are invading RuneScape of all games. You should start collaborating with Blue Squadron. He's another funny, retarded, bald fuck who's just starting Guild Wars 2. Yeah, you know what? I should actually DM him memories. Maybe I'll do that at some point. But let's find out exactly why WoW players are fucking off to old school RuneScape. This is actually something I care about because WoW has been a game I was obsessed with for a long time. And unfortunately, I don't see a bunch of videos. I mean, I don't see a bunch of new MMOs coming out. I see no videos about new MMOs.
Hello again.
Being fantastic. And let's figure out what the fuck is happening and why, like, of all games, why old school RuneScape? And do you think a month from now, all those same WoW players are going to be gone from OSRS and in Guild Wars 2? That's the real question. Are we ahead of the curve by mistake? It's the real question. Listen to that music.
Why are there so many World of Warcraft players switching to old school RuneScape? You must have noticed them, right? Lurking around the Grand Exchange, trying to parse on a goblin, wondering where their ability bars are, and asking how Jagex is managing to update the game rather than re-releasing the same exact content over and over and over again.
They're just so used to WoW that they can't get out of that cycle. It's like, you know how you stop people from thinking about revolution is you remove the word revolution from the dictionary? So people don't know how to think about a concept that they don't have a word for. It's kind of what's happened to WoW players. They've all been psyoped. So the idea of like not just shitting out the same kind of content over and over again, that's just, you know, par for the course now. To be fair, the current season has been going on for 6 months. Not a whole lot of current content to keep people subbed if they've reached their seasonal goals. Nothing wrong with that. I think WoW needs to die. I think they need to sunset WoW and start with a new MMO. But they don't have the fucking balls to do it. And so WoW will just keep slogging on. Too tired to carry on, but too profitable to die.
I sure did, because I'm one of those WoW players. A year and a half ago, after around half a month of MMO soul searching, I found old school RuneScape. I had quit WoW after Mythic raiding for around a decade for various reasons. I was sick of the short form, seasonal ethos of the game, devaluing any and all of my progression.
What he just said there was exactly how every single WoW player feels. That is how I felt years ago. Every single piece of progress you make in World of Warcraft feels completely worthless. In classic WoW, in vanilla WoW, even in maybe Burning Crusade and Wrath, when you made progression, when you developed your character, it felt meaningful because it was effort, energy, and that power wasn't gone a week from now. But the treadmill has sped up to the point that your character, whatever you've got on them, feels fucking worthless. It holds no significant value whatsoever. Because you know that by the time the next patch that's coming out next Wednesday or whatever you've got is outdated and you're not getting into the raid groups unless you are there. Day one, grinding out the new gear. Nothing feels significant anymore in WoW.
Sick of the only valuable content being instanced.
Wait, okay, but why are they leaving now? Because WoW was like that for years now. I think they're leaving now because Classic's getting old. the classic expansions are starting to catch up to the modern game, where everyone fell off initially from. There was Soda Poppin's entire event with WoW, and now that that's done, like that everyone's finished with that shit, no one wants to play the game because WoW Cool Streamer guy that I know is no longer having fun with it. Blizzard keeps fucking things up. So I think the death rattle of WoW was probably Soda Poppin playing it. And he wasn't even playing retail. He was playing classic. The best version WoW has currently. So they've tried Final Fantasy. They've hopped over to back to WoW. They've now hopped into old school RuneScape. Maybe BDO is next. Maybe Guild Wars 2 is next. But they may have the attention span of a squirrel on crack, get done with RuneScape, and then move on to some other MMORPG.
Bored of the binary itemization and samey loot, and disheartened by Blizzard's complacency with the classic incarnation of the game. Clearly, I wasn't the only one. Mad Season, Guzu, Caridus, Savix, and more have since begun their first steps into this beloved, curated sandbox. What about RuneScape seems to have translated for the World of Warcraft player, and why? First, we must acknowledge where these WoW creators come from. Unlike myself, most
I don't think that many players left for OSRS. It's more of a streamer high pumping. Well, maybe, right? But if we looked at the numbers, I wish we could get population charts from Blizzard, because that'll confirm exactly what we need, but we'll never get that from them again. Because remember, if the population charts were good, they would give that to us immediately, because they want to show off how well their game is doing. They stopped doing that when the numbers went bad. I'm willing to bet that the numbers of OSRS have increased, because if we look at people who even just watch streams, OSRS is killing it in comparison to WoW. Let's do a Google Trends quick. Worldwide. Oh, look at that. Now that's interesting. Looks like you might be right. WoW has actually increased in interest, whereas OSRS is kind of just the same. Fuck, look at that. Oh, okay, that's over a day. Hold on, I was thinking that was over months. I wasn't looking at the timeline. Okay, so WoW did increase between May and now. It's now falling off. OSRS is starting to uptrend. Interesting. So WoW is still much bigger. OSRS had 2 content creator PvP events back to back this summer. So they're paying people to be in the game. I'm more optimistic. I think every time an exodus like this happens, some of the people that left never go back. I've been enjoying WoW, but I'm also a role player, and the roleplay community is huge, so I have fun. Yeah, no, that makes sense, right? Like, I can't really be mad at people who still enjoy WoW and stuff, because, like, if I look at it, you've just got all old MMORPGs to go to, right? There's no new hotness that's coming out. But maybe this is just a streamer thing, so maybe then it's simply a surface level thing, where it looks like OSRS is doing much better because there's so many people hopping over. But it is an interesting trend that a bunch of content creators are leaving. That is significant.
Most of them are classic WoW players, an old-school 2004 incarnation of World of Warcraft, much like old-school RuneScape is of RuneScape. Unlike OSRS, though, this version of World of Warcraft is following the timeline of WoW itself. Blizzard has been updating classic WoW
What a fucking stupid idea. What a stupid idea to let Classic follow the same timeline. Just make Classic Plus and leave it there. Let people maintain the significance of the work and effort and energy they put into the MMO that they love. The fact that they're now going through the re-release cycle, what are they on now? Cataclysm? Fuck me, they're fucking it up all over again. I bet the really, like the baseline classic servers are probably still the most popular servers.
Every few months with new patches and eventually the very same expansions that released years ago. The initial release in 2018 is now entering the Mists of Pandaria expansion and resembles Retail WoW, the modern game, much more than it does Classic WoW or Vanilla WoW, the version from 2004. It's interesting to imagine a version of old-school RuneScape that just kind of began releasing all the same updates, eventually ruining the game for the very same players that returned to it because it lacked those updates. Blizzard understood and saw this as the player base continued to shrink. Therefore, they opted for the seasonal servers that remixed the standard classic vanilla WoW experience. The Season of Mastery and eventually the Season of Discovery.
Season of Mastery was good. I wish they took it further than what they did, but Season of Mastery was actually good. Can't stick around today, wanted to give a shout out. Well, thanks for the stopping by, Kyle. Go live your life. I promise you, the stream is always here. The VOD is always on YouTube. Go live your life. If you got anything you need to do, you go and fucking do it. Blizzard working on a Classic Plus, but who the fuck knows if it will be good. You know what's really fucked? I think that a bunch of WoW Classic private servers could probably do a better job at this point than Blizzard themselves, and have done a better job. And I think Blizzard's only hope for maintaining a higher player base is the fact that they own the game and it belongs to them, and all they really need to do is copy paste whatever some super popular private server's done. That's all they gotta do.
These year-long servers run down the line of all the same patches that were released between 2004 and 2006, with some updates. The latter, Season of Discovery, or SOD, introduced runes and granted all kinds of player power in the form of new abilities and many, many old ones from future expansions, as well as reworked some of the raids and even added one new raid toward the end. It was an interesting experiment. Finally, Blizzard released the Classic Anniversary servers, so just Vanilla Classic again, for a second, or some would argue, fourth time. That's the first point to take note of. These creators love WoW. Even I, to a certain extent, still do as well, especially—
We shit on it because we love it. Grandpa's got his dick out at the dinner table. You're yelling at Grandpa. It doesn't mean you don't love him. You just want him to put his dick away.
Classic, a version of the game that I think is most tangibly an MMORPG. It's wonderful, yet regardless of your love for it, anything exceptional becomes dry over time, especially when not allowed to exist in our mind. Being fed the same thing, as great as it may be, over and over again doesn't foster a larger community. It pushes those sick of it away. And the amount becoming sick only increases in time. The repeated cycles of Classic aren't getting any fresher, and next time Blizzard relaunches Classic servers, chances are they'll see even less popularity. Similarly, Blizzard—
I think they know that, but I don't think they care. How many times did Skyrim re-release itself? They understand. They have the test case. Skyrim's the test case. They're just going to keep doing this until it stops working, and then they'll find a new gimmick. I want the concept of seasons in games to die. So do I. I think it's fucking pathetic. But it makes them a buttload of money, so it's never going away.
Blizzard has floated the idea of a Classic Plus. This has been a long-running desire from the player base. Instead of re-releasing the same content, why not add truly new content to the game?
Yeah,
in many
Classic
ways,
Plus.
SOD was experimenting in that regard. Sadly, I'm a bit concerned with this. First, Blizzard's survey that introduced this idea was filled with nothing even remotely interesting systemically. It had a whole host of quality of life features such as account-wide collections and—
Can I be honest with you about something? So I've heard about Green, I've heard about Turtle WoW. People keep on saying Turtle WoW is amazing, and that it's better than anything Blizzard could do. So Can I be honest about what they should have done with Classic? There are a fuck ton of storylines, a fuck ton of lore events that they abandoned in the base game and just moved forward. They could have gone back to WoW Classic, done a Classic Plus, completed all the storylines previously that they abandoned. The fairy circles in Tirisfal, where you can hear the whispering of an old god. The portal in God, what was it, in Darkshire? Some of the crossover, like the Burning Lands, Desolus. There's like a million stories in Desolus that could have happened that they just abandoned. Mancrook's wife in Shadowlands. No, Mancrook's wife, that was a lie. Because he never saw the body. Mancrook's wife is still alive. She just went to Outland. She's getting some brown orc dick. She just got tired of the green stuff. That's why you never find her body. That's why everyone in the Barons chat is still looking for her, but she's not there. She left. Brown orcs moved in once that portal opened, and they took away all the regular green women.
Graphical improvements. Essentially, they were pitching retail WoW features alongside what Blizzard does most confidently: instanced content, new raids, dungeons, and so on. I suppose that's what people want, but I also think
they should have done that, but they've got to go further than that. They've got to go even further beyond. Give us old school Gilneas. Give us more lore. Add to the story and keep it consistent with the world. There's so much they could have done.
I think that this will kill the game down the line. You can add new skills, new classes, however, disregarding the architecture that makes most of these things function is an issue. It may work well for retail, but that's because the modern version of WoW is competitive and singular in its vision. It has an exceptional combat system that is the sole point of interaction with the rest of the game. By comparison, classic WoW is emergent. It wouldn't be far-fetched to say that it is defined by its leveling experience more so than its endgame. Because endgame in classic—
which is what made leveling so fun. Because you spend hours doing it instead of 10 minutes.
WoW, the farming for pre-raid bis and then raid logging isn't the most evocative or unique feature. Leveling through the enormous uninstanced open world, forming groups to take down elites and brave difficult quests, finding ways to solo bosses, just running through the dense jungles and open plains. That is classic WoW. The endgame is held together by emergent interactions never intended by the developers and seemingly never acknowledged since. The interpersonal relation—
emergent. That would be things like the Devil Saw Mafia. That would be things like the big groups of players doing wild shit that weren't intended initially. That would be that one guy who somehow managed to get the legendary hunter bow that you saw once for 5 seconds, and you know he had an entire guild helping him do that. I kind of wish they had simply seen the appeal of Vanilla's version aesthetic and made essentially conversion mods for vanilla WoW. Same mechanics, different world, different quest, maybe different skills here and there. Well, they kind of did that with Season of Discovery. I don't think they went far enough. I think they focused so much on, ooh, wow, new magic skills and stuff, that they forgot to expand out more than that.
Of managing 40-odd raiders, the faction collusion, the war effort that saw, in my opinion, one of the best game series ever created around it. Even the collective flight paths to gather meticulously timed world buffs, these are the heartbeat of the game that aren't retained by just improving graphics adding instanced player housing, and a new class.
Yeah, literally none of this matters. None of this matters to a player as much as what's happening inside the game. You could have done none of these things, and it would have changed 1% of the game for less than 1% of the player base.
Survey saw Blizzard double down on things that are neat, I guess, but aren't what actually makes classic WoW good. With all of that out of the way, we must also acknowledge the lull that Classic is currently in. The anniversary servers are chugging along with the 100-odd thousand players still logging weekly, Season of Discovery has ended, and the modern version of Classic WoW, Jesus Christ, there are so many versions, is—
Fuck. It's happening again. Look at Doomhill. I'm actually shocked how many people are playing Alliance. That's actually astounding. Most servers were just always in the past overpopulated with Horde, and I think it's all the Horde players got bored of the Horde side of things and then switched to Alliance.
entering an expansion that most original players aren't likely to return.
Wait, there's forced balance. Not on Doomhell, apparently.
to. During this lull, people want something,
On
and that
PvP,
something,
yeah.
for whatever reason, is old school RuneScape. RuneScape and WoW have a combative history with one another. I'm sure older players remember just how competitive and defensive these two groups were. The RuneScape versus World of Warcraft videos on the fledgling website known as YouTube were a not uncommon thing to see. The arguments at a lunch table—
Man, I gotta say, RuneScape was the Guna game. I've told this story before, but I'm not gonna tell it again. But the same guy who got his sister to drink his ball water, who like played RuneScape non-stop, he whenever you sat down to talk to him about video games, the first paragraph out of his mouth was how much better RuneScape was than World of Warcraft. You could have been talking about Call of Duty with this man, or Assassin's Creed, or God of War, and somehow he made it about how RuneScape was better than WoW. He couldn't help himself.
the friendships broken or lost, all of it laid a foundation for many experiences in the mid-2000s. And a singular truth was birthed from the din of childhood tribalism. World of Warcraft is better because it's for people whose parents are generous enough to front $15 a month for a subscription.
Your parents are poor? Default skin. You know how like kids these days call each other default as an insult? Because they all fucking play Fortnite, and if you got the default skin, yeah, it's not new. It's just a remake. It's just a remix of exactly what the fuck we were doing to each other back then. Now, I'll be honest, my WoW subscription wasn't very constant. It wasn't very persistent because I had to pay for it myself. And I did whatever I could to pay for it. And so when I had some low months, I was in RuneScape. That's just how it was. My parents were like, look, you can either use your entire allowance every single month on a WoW subscription, or you could play some other fucking video games. I think you're getting addicted. And then I hit about 14 and they took away my allowance and they were like, now you gotta work for money, bitch. Yeah. There was no RuneScape Premium in this house.
Meanwhile, RuneScape is the kids' game for losers who can only get $5, or none bucks, stuck in the beleaguered free-to-play worlds like jobless middle school peasants. At that point, World of Warcraft was—
However, unlike World of Warcraft, if you knew the right person in my school, you could sneak into the IT room during break and you could crank out a game of, you could crank out some farming in RuneScape. You couldn't do that with WoW. There was no WoW loaded on those PCs, but you could open a browser tab and log into RuneScape.
was on top of the world. It was reaching its subscriber peak and growing. While RuneScape was undeniably a cultural force, it was always the lesser of the two. Times have kind of changed since then. World of Warcraft's popularity, while still at the top, has waned. The game has stagnated, failing to reach—
Look. Peak? End of Arthur's story? Fuck off. This is the first time I quit WoW for months was Cataclysm. I got right here into the first few the first few instances in Cataclysm. I saw the new map, I saw what they did to the Barons. And I was out. I was done. You know where you cancel the subscription and it tells you why are you canceling the subscription and it gives you the box. I wrote the vilest shit I could remember thinking about at the time. Like the most fucking disgusting shit I could think to say about the game and how fucking retarded the devs must be. And then I quit the game at that point. What's up, Wojciech? Oh man, I couldn't help myself. I was so fucking angry. I was so angry.
A new audience. Meanwhile, RuneScape has died and been rebirthed twice. Old school RuneScape has not only been growing,
When are you not, Val? No, you don't understand, Wojciech. What I am now, in comparison to what I was as a kid, this is the toned down version. This is the I learned to relax version. I'll give you an example. Like when I quit WoW for the first time, man, I typed in that suggestion box why I was quitting. One of the things I said was I wish Hitler was alive and didn't target the Jews, but instead targeted the people in your office because they truly deserve it for what you've done to World of Warcraft. That's one of the things I remember saying. And I said a lot more shit in there. I said some real vicious shit in that little fucking box because they fucked up my game. My childhood consisted of reading books and maybe getting a bionicle, but then losing my bionicles and getting my ass beat. If I got anything less than a B in school, I didn't get an allowance. Sounds like you should have resorted to a life of crime. You should have done what motherfucker Jones did. And if you don't know who motherfucker Jones is, you need to look him up.
It has been thriving, especially in the past 2 years where the player count has almost doubled. This is thanks to exceptional updates focusing on the early and mid-game experience and external community-driven marketing from creators and Jagex alike. Leagues, the limited-time Season of Discovery-esque but way crazier game mode released in late 2024, saw more than 200,000 concurrent players, and now the game is reaching—
That's impressive. Still not as big as WoW, but that is impressive.
up those figures without the help of leagues at all. For reference, this is more concurrent players than the total individual raid logs in Classic WoW's Anniversary Edition every week. In July,
Ooh, that's gotta hurt. You know, there was Bobby Kotick at this point in time was like yelling at some Blizzard employee like he was Obadiah Stane. And RuneScape was out here looking like fucking Iron Man. RuneScape built this in a browser with a box of GitHub code. I'm not RuneScape, sir.
we're seeing the release of the final part of the newest continent, Varlamore, and shortly after that, Old School's first entirely new skill, Sailing, which is expanding the world in ways never before seen in the game. Is that all it takes for the conversion for the WoW player to give it a go? Not entirely. OSRS offers certain similarities in experience that are worth mentioning, like the emphasis on emergent gameplay. Emergence is when unique, surprising interactions arise from engagement with standard systems in a video game. For example, in WoW Classic, it was the coordination between half a dozen guilds to time.
A simple way to translate what he's saying here is you let the players play the game. And you don't shut down unique and interesting things that happen in the game. Subs, I believe, are the biggest cancer in the game. It makes people treat each other like shit because there's money and time invested and wasted. Maybe, Bestia, maybe. I think subs are acceptable as a monetary model as long as you're not going to put MTX into the game. But the second you do a sub and you put any form of MTX into the game, you lose all respect that I have for you. That's also why I hated Blizzard for that. I feel like that was such a dog shit decision. What's MTX? Microtransactions. You know, buy this mount. Get the skin. There is no game without MTX. Yep. There is currently no game without MTX. At least no MMO. Because it's now just the standard. And then you wonder why the younger generations don't want to touch MMOs. Because not only are other games more dopamine dense than MMOs, but the MTX is more appealing on top of that.
Their world buff drops for the most amount of players to make sure there are no overlaps. These are methods of interaction never explicitly designed by the developers. They emerge thanks to player need and creativity. Yep. My favorite emergence system in Classic WoW was learning Dire Maul tribute runs on my Hunter all the way back in 2019. Not only was it a difficult solo challenge, but selling the loot and buffs to different players was a really cool way.
Fucker was so good playing a Hunter back in the day. The fact that you could kite mobs around certain, walls and shit that you jumped on. Where it was jump on a wall, jump off, and you could slowly burn them down if you had the right timings. And one slip up would kill you. It was so fucking good. And that's not an intended feature. That's something players figured out. There was the Paladin runs in Scarlet Monastery. I think it was WoW Hobbs who first did them. Man, there was actually a ton of emergent gameplay that used to exist in WoW Classic that is nowhere in the game today. If you asked your average retail WoW player today what emergent gameplay exists in World of Warcraft, they'll say it doesn't matter because they're going to update the game next week anyway, and then I've got to grind out, and I've got to raid log, and I've got to make sure that my fucking eye level is up. So it doesn't matter what's going on. I just need to complete the new thing.
To earn money. These things don't exist in retail WoW. The game has been meticulously designed to be balanced and competitive.
Oh yeah.
Therefore, any outliers such as this are immediately patched out. There's even a refrain popularized by players calling out this behavior. Fun detected, they say in unison as Blizzard removes an emergent mechanic.
Oh yeah. Every single time you could do something cool, they take that shit out the game. Every time you had some unique mechanic that you could use in a certain way, they took it out the fucking game. Because how dare you do something interesting?
That may trivialize.
Rogues dodge tanking Groll. Hunters distracting, shouting as a priest replacement. Bear tanking? I've bear tanked certain fucking dungeons in vanilla. Hey, guess what I did when Burning Crusade came out? I made a shaman tank. I tanked high-level dungeons as a shaman. Now, granted, it was difficult as fuck And I had to extra heal on myself. But it was possible. But how dare you? How dare you try some weird shit now? I tanked as SV Hunter in vanilla. Exactly. Oh man, it was so good. It was so good that you could do weird shit with your specs. Some of the shit I saw warlocks do that I still don't understand today. Because I never played a warlock to that level. Some of the absolute psychopath freak shit that certain priest players got away with doing. Oh my god, oh, it was so good. It was so fucking wild. That's all gone now.
Something. In OSRS, this happens less. The line between exploit and emergence is thinner. It is also encouraged with the existence of the wilderness, a zone where PvP is enabled and upon dying, you drop your loot. If you are not the aggressor, or unskulled, you retain 3 of your most expensive items, and if you are skulled, the aggressor, you lose everything. There is a tangible risk-reward in the wilderness that makes it unlike anything else in theme park MMOs. It has singles areas for one-on-ones and multi-combat zones for group fights, fostering a truly sprawling and occasionally terrifying environment. It has its issues.
Look at this man playing this Excel spreadsheet. Look how locked in he is. He's fucking on it. I've only played Wrath of the Lich King expansion. The thing I still don't understand is why the Alliance and Horde are trying to kill each other instead of having one common enemy. Potato, you've got to go back and play the Warcraft 3 and maybe Warcraft 2 RTSs, and it'll make a lot more sense. Otherwise, I'm going to be giving you like a fucking hour-long explanation. Save it to say, basically, orcs came from another planet, started fucking things up because demon blood. Humans never trusted them again. You know, Alliance formed, Horde formed, beat back the Burning Legion. Things with Arthas went wrong.
Issues, but is ultimately a totally unique element of RuneScape. The open world PvP during Classic WoW's heyday was kind of similar to this. If you decided to play on a PvP server, it wasn't uncommon to run into roving warbands of bloodthirsty players farming honor points on random people. It created a hide-and-seek leveling experience that definitely got tiresome, but was pretty crazy nonetheless. This system is only begotten to Wilderness in Old School, so it's a bit more manageable there. Of course, in PvP, death is nowhere near as punishing in WoW as you only lose time, but the general ethos of open PvP is worth considering as a point of interest.
Oh yeah.
OSRS has
oh fuck. This is just bringing back nostalgia waves for me. Can someone summarize what went wrong with Cataclysm? I'm too busy trying. Okay, Saro, let me make it simple for you. One word. Homogenization. Of everything.
Emergence that extends far past PvP too. It wouldn't be far-fetched to suggest that the vast majority of PvE bosses in RuneScape have emergent mechanics defining them, whether it be safe spotting Dagannoth Kings, butterflying Akka, soloing Cox, and anything in between. Even the skill
I never played RuneScape to this level, so I have no idea what he's talking about.
In OSRS is often thought of as an emergent experience thanks to tick manipulation being a valid method for a lot of players. It also has an effective blend of communality and solo expression. Some of the most difficult content in OSRS is solo. However, the experience of playing the game itself is a lot more communal. Not in the sense that it demands grouping, that's not the only method of multiplayer communality, just being around others is enough. Because the game isn't linear in its progression.
There is nothing like being a fucking loser back in the day. Logging into your fucking chosen MMORPG, being in Orgrimmar or Stormwind. Or wherever the fuck you are in RuneScape, Lumbridge, I suppose. And seeing a million people around you. And not talking to a single one of them. There's just something about that makes it feel good.
It's a sandbox. No zone is ever out-leveled or outright devalued. You are just as likely to see high-level players in Varrock, the second city most players go to, as you are in the elven city of Prifdinas. Mario. Not only does this make the game feel more alive, it also creates the emergent experience of seeing someone, as soon as you zone in, wearing way cooler shit than you are, and giving you something to aspire to as a result. This is of course dead in retail WoW thanks to the overabundance of cosmetic overrides applying inane visuals to anyone, anywhere, making it impossible to tell if someone is a badass because they—
Hey, you know what I said about visual progression being dead in MMOs? About how now it doesn't matter anymore? How these visual progression systems are pay to win? There you fucking go. There you go.
They cleared a mythic raid or just swiped.
Which one's the non-cosmetic? I think it's probably this one, bottom right. But this is how out of touch I am. So I can't even remember. It might actually be this one here. It might be at the top.
Their credit card or farm.
None of them. Oh, look at that. None of them.
Piece of content while watching YouTube videos.
Also, by the way, I was so pissed off playing a shaman in Wrath of the Lich King because your PvP gladiator armor made you look like a fucking brick. It was literally brick textures as a shaman. It was terrible.
On another monitor. Classic WoW, at least the original version, didn't have cosmetic overrides, so being able to actually see what someone is wearing lent a credible aura of authenticity to the game world and its player base. Everything felt of that world, and the items being worn gained an aesthetic value. They were recognized. The legendary armaments were legendary.
This man is making the argument I've been making for years about how important visual progression is. We can shit on cosmetic MTX all we want, but people keep wanting systems like transmog systems in the game. People want Scarlett Johansson underneath their desk sucking their dick every day. That doesn't mean they're gonna get it. The thing is, if you put a system that people want in the game that fucks up everything, that means it was a bad decision. You want to have, okay, let's say, okay, you put transmog in the game. You fucked it up. It's all visual progression now is gone, right? Okay, why don't we baseline make the transmog a limited system that only works for certain things? That you have to work for certain achievements. That means that, damn, that guy who just ran past has transmog gear, but I know he's a badass simply because he unlocked certain achievements for certain gear sets. But they'll never do that because they can just make money instead.
That has since faded in time thanks to the repeated launches and eventual mastery of all the content, but it did exist at one point. Because it's persistently updated, OSRS never lost that, and while certain gear may be less impressive today than it was in 2015 or 2005, new gear has taken its place. Seeing someone in Sanguine Torva or the newly released Radiant Oathplate armor, especially if they achieve these things on an Iron Man, is incredibly impressive.
Exactly.
Just
there you go. There you go. That guy's walking around in that armor, and you're like, holy shit. It's him. It's the guy. It's that guy. Do you like Guild Wars 2 transmog system? I'm still deciding about it. I do like the dyes. I like the fact that there's some level of color customization on the gear. The transmog system itself I see as kind of like a meme. But personally, I'm using it to my advantage because I can keep my character consistently looking a certain way. And then when I play the game off stream and I'm starting to make the videos about it, also because Super's all over the fucking screen all the time. So when I play through the game again on a second character and repeat the same things and get all the B-roll footage I want, it'll still look like there's a continuum going on using the transmogs. So I'm using it to my advantage. But if I had the choice, I would prefer only dies in Guild Wars. Only dies. Because there is no visual progression in that game. Everyone just looks like a fucking disco ball.
Having that communally recognized value promotes more people to seek that recognition. After all, flexing your hard-earned achievements is a core part of existing alongside other people, whether it be in-game or not. World of Warcraft, at least right now, is failing to offer a permanent home for its...
God, look how fucking bad Anduin looks. Oh, man. Fuck me, he should have been dead. Hold on. I saw a message there about it already being in the game. Yeah, you know what? It's in the game, but it's not limited enough when talking about the transmogs. I saw that message. I didn't reply to it earlier. It's not limited enough. It needs stronger limits on it.
Players, asking them time and time again to recreate the same characters and re-experience the same events.
Bro, I wish Classic WoW Hardcore had these challenges. Goodness gracious, man.
Hey, that's not bad.
These are so
That's the
cool.
last Batwave. I have a decent amount of prayer.
This is exactly what I've been
56
asking
also
for
had a
forever.
bit of a sketchy lore, but not one that I haven't done before.
It's funny, I criticize retail WoW for becoming a fleeting, seasonal experience that devalues everything you've earned every new patch, but Classic WoW has become that too. With every new incarnation, it resets everyone back to zero and asks them...
Yep, they literally took away the reason for you to care about long-term achievements. They just can't leave it alone. They can't just put something there and just leave it alone as like a museum piece that people keep coming back to every now and then. They can't do that.
To run that treadmill again. Blizzard is plagued by the disease of seasonality. They seem incapable of creating anything outside of that paradigm because it is the only way to foster continuous engagement in their eyes. Perhaps that's more a fault of the theme park MMO than it is of their own creativity.
Yep.
The Season of Discovery, being seasonal in name, also operated this way. It had incremental level gates, 20, 30, 40, and so on, that acted like miniature expansion releases with a new raid, some new content, and new abilities and other stuff. Blizzard, being tied to this seasonal model, was terrified of making players feel like they need to catch up to their friends, so they caught up for them. Level boosts, experience boosts, and so on.
Which is brilliant, and I don't think he's leaning too much into the angle that he should be, is that they did it on purpose because they knew they could get people to pay money for it. Make them feel the FOMO. Oh, your friend Billy. He's at level 40. You stupid bitch, you worked a job. You're only at 20. But for $5, we can solve that problem. Only game I've seen where armor looked functional and effective was called Raiders. Didn't last long after launching out of beta. It's probably because the game sucked, and it's probably other issues with it. American had World of Warcraft and RuneScape in the early 2000s. We Asians had Ragnarok Online and RF Online. All graphics totally different. I think the graphical fidelity doesn't matter so much as the art style and stuff. And I think over time, WoW has slowly lost that. It's lost its sense of novelty. I can't speak on the Asian MMOs because I never played them. But WoW definitely lost its sense of novelty. The fact that the Hunter rifle used to sound like an actual gun back in the day. I can still hear the sound effect in my head of the rifle gun of a hunter if I think about it. I cannot tell you what a rifle in retail WoW sounds like. It's lost its significance. There are certain sounds that are buried in my subconscious that if I heard them out, if I was out in the fucking woods and I heard the Blessing of Might sound effect from a paladin, I would immediately know what the fuck that is. I'd be like, some asshole's out here with a laptop. I know exactly what he's playing. He's playing the wheelchair class. I would know that. That's a sense of novelty that you cannot get rid of. WoW removed all of that.
Became so disconnected conceptually from the original classic, the original vanilla, the experience people originally connected with, that it asked them to skip it entirely. Expediting the leveling in classic is like offering maraschino cherries as the dessert itself. It's like the rosemary being garnished by the steak. It makes absolutely no sense and caters to a demographic of players that exist antithetically to.
It's the dopamine hit. I blame TikTok. It's all about the dopamine hit.
An MMO. The genre is defined by persistent engagement, a world that continues living, but by promoting momentary engagement for incredibly short periods of time, you create artificial bursts of popularity and then long lulls where most prospect players don't want to join because it looks dead. But here we are today. Players clearly want some kind of emergent experience in a growing game. One of my favorite examples of this was actually in Classic WoW's anniversary servers released only a little while ago. OnlyFans, a content creator-driven guild conceptualized.
There it is. OnlyFans was such a fucking incredible idea, by the way. The fact that Sodapoppin pulled this off, the whole WoW event thing with all the content creators, that was fucking incredible. He did such a great job of this. I don't think people, like, as much credit as he gets, I don't think people give him enough credit for how he built a story with a bunch of streamers that was better than anything Blizzard had released in the last 10 years.
By streamer Sodapoppin. It was a community.
And yes, Newgash, at the same time, he manufactured the straw that broke the camel's back when it comes to pirate software. The WoW babies were not going to stand for that bullshit. Especially for the guy who kept saying he worked at Blizzard.
Communal experiment, a creator house like you'd see back in 2016, but done in World of Warcraft. It was a persistently running reality television show that tested the mental fortitude of all those involved, because OnlyFans was less so about the game and more so about people interacting with one another through the game.
Which I think honestly made it better. Who gives a, like, honestly, think about this from a content creation standpoint, right? If you are an ultra sweat in a game, what is more entertaining to you? Watching some other ultra sweat do the exact same things you would have done anyway? Or watch some fucking retard bumble around for the first time, being the biggest dumbass in the world, and you get to laugh at him, knowing you're not him. One of those two things is far more entertaining to people. So taking a bunch of people who've never played WoW and making them play the game, and you will find people that are bumbling retards like me, right, who they're just fun to watch because you get to laugh at them, and then out of that will emerge like a pack of people like Tyler One, who somehow are just absolute freaks of nature, who do like shit that some players who've been playing the game for 20 years still can't do. Right? And that's like, holy fucking shit, how did this guy who doesn't play this game, how did he get this right? Right? That's entertaining to watch on both ends of the spectrum. But you know it's not entertaining to watch? The streamer who's going around and collecting all the world buffs for the raid for 4 hours. All right, guys, I'm gonna craft the Lionheart sword. And so I'm just going to sit here for 7 hours, not doing anything interesting, and you already know how this works and you know how the patterns are. That's dead. That's dead content. I'll save it for later. I'll open that now.
You think that's
look at that.
See?
Oh my
See?
god! Holy shit!
No, Pimov, you've gotten every single item.
And then people ninja loot, and the drama starts, and it's just entertaining as fuck. Right there.
I've gotten a lot of items. He's gotten and it's good for warrior. You've gotten every item, bro.
Listen. I'll pass if you come to my stream and rate my physique.
Wait, what?
All right, get in.
Holy. You're shredded, bro. What the?
I was not
Wait, is that a bodysuit? Wait, this guy is shredded, by the way.
Wait, that's a huge.
What's your body fat percentage?
I followed Tyler 1's journey
See?
through the guild's rise and
That's entertaining. That's fun to watch. That's weird shit going on. It brings you back to a better time. Just that alone.
eventual dissolution. Tyler 1 is, of course, another streamer, popular for his abrasive and somewhat controversial personality and exceptional League of Legends
And his
play.
weird fucking head.
Never having played Classic WoW before, he ventured into OnlyFans with an open mind. OnlyFans was created on the hardcore server, meaning that if you die, you lose your character. And simultaneously, the guild ran alongside a host of add-ons, or in RuneScape terminology,
And you know Tyler 1's got that Todd strength. You know that when his character dies, he's screaming and breaking shit probably. So you're waiting for that moment when he fucks up, right? So the anticipation, there's the build-up, there's the entertainment. It's all there. And you get to know, like, if you're someone who played WoW for 15 years, you know what he's in for and he doesn't.
plugins that created race-driven competitions. Undead, Tauren, Orcs, and Trolls all competed against one another through this external system. There were raffles, battles, arguments, and everything in between. During this process, I watched Tyler 1 learn the game, go from meandering around, keyboard turning, and sometimes forgetting to attack, to running a 40-man raid. His interaction with different content creators, his fabricated drama with Soda Poppin', his insistence to essentially roleplay.
And look at what's going on in the background. Emergent gameplay. Emergent gameplay. Did you know they had played WoW for 15 years? Yeah. Did you know? I didn't mention it in the last 15 minutes. Devilis, also, did you know my dad works at Roblox? By the way, my dad works at Microsoft and he's going to ban you for that comment.
A rise to power narrativized the entire experience. It did so well that when he died, it became a legendary moment within the community. While leading a raid into Molten Core, battling the fire elemental Baron Geddon, Tyler 1 was faced with a decision. Go for the kill, DPSing down the final few percent and healing through the AoE explosions, or play it safe, run away. His fatal...
And he chose to gamble and lost because everyone around him was a pussy. And that was an iconic, memorable moment that everyone will remember.
Call was to DPS. Go full hog, as they say. Zug the Zuggler, full send. And his shouts echoed through the voice call, unaware that many had already begun to run. Because when a death means a reset of your progress, it's every man for himself.
Go back in, everybody back.
He made the big dick call and he was surrounded by a bunch of pussies.
Everybody, I'm death wishing. Big heals. Big heals on me. Big heals on me. I'm death wishing. Big heals on me.
Holy shit.
Let the bomb. Big heals on me. Big heals on me. You can't listen. Finish it. Don't run. Finish. Finish. Don't run. Finish.
Look at him. Look at him all pussying out. I love this clip. Look at all these little fucking bitches not not listening at all to the raid leader. Look at all that pussy shit. Oh, it's fucking incredible. God damn. And you know what? I hope all of them had a message ready for Tyler when he died. What am I supposed to do? I was out of mana. I hope all of them whispered him that.
Oh my god!
my god!
GG, we're all dead.
No!
Fucking
The boss
losers. Look
fell,
at those
but not
fuckers.
without the death of many of those brave enough to fight alongside their war chief in his final moments. This felt like the end of the story, and for many it was. It was facilitated
What a brilliant ending to this whole thing.
by Classic WoW, by the hardcore servers, by the raid itself, but this existed only due to the emergent methods through which these creators decided to approach this re-release. Why do I bring this up though? For an OSRS player, it may be obvious. This happens all the fucking time in RuneScape. Not on the same scale as OnlyFans and Sodapoppin's achievement of managing to wrangle in the egos of dozens, if not hundreds, of content creators for months was unlike anything I've ever seen, but in a microcosm, this is RuneScape's most common creator-driven element. The best comparison is Deadman All-Stars, wherein a large OSRS content
See, now I know nothing about this. I'm not deep enough into RuneScape to know anything about this.
creator, Solo Mission, teamed up with Jagex by obtaining a custom server wherein 35 of the largest content creators in the game created teams of 5 in a full PvP version of the game. Almost
sounds awesome.
every area became dangerous. In these servers, all 35 creators had expedited experience and drops, and a bit over a week of time to gear up for the finale. A King of the Hill style one-on-one deathmatch where they, donning the gear they've collected, were put to the test against one another. The 10-day period that this event spanned was amongst the most fun in the game's history, as following the individual and group-wide achievements and battles became so many people's day-to-day habit. The battles fought, the gear lost, the upsets, the strategies, the drama. It felt like a condensed version of OnlyFans buoyed by each creator's personality, loudest of which was Odablock. Odablock is the largest—
Oh, that's Mr. Locked In. Jesus, dude. This man is locked in on his Excel spreadsheets.
School RuneScape streamer. He, much like Tyler 1, is an abrasive, controversial figure with a huge fan base. He's also one of the best PvPers in the entire game. He was the captain for the Odablock Warriors, and throughout this event, they became, in some ways, the focal point, the core narrative. In the draft, Odablock recruited what was considered to be the strongest set of PvPers. They were the only ones capable of defeating the Solo Mission Snakes, a team labeled as this season's villains. This was because they had a rather toxic player that received a yellow card for potentially stream sniping. This was made worse by this player's previous history of less than honorable behavior.
And you see that shit? That's exactly why you don't ban the fucked up players who go against the tide. Every good, memorable MMORPG always has its villains. You might hate them, you might disagree with their behavior, but you know what you do? You do fucking remember them. You remember how they made you feel. You remember the story of what happened in the game because of them. You don't need to ban them. Leave them in the game. And either the player base deals with them or they deal with the player base. Both of which make interesting, memorable stories. Because when all the MMOs are dead, all you have left are the memories. And if you get rid of these people, you fuck the game up. You remove another element of emergent gameplay. Pirate Software, for example, your voice is done with life. Yeah, it pretty much is. My voice is fucked. I've been yelling all day. I've been talking to lawyers. What do you expect? Pirate Software only made me hate WoW guilds, but he's transcended gameplay. The thing is, Pirate Software didn't make you hate WoW guilds. WoW guilds made you hate WoW guilds. They've always been like that. It just so happened that Pirate Software was cunt monkey number 1. And Cunt Monkeys number 2 through 500 decided they were going to beat up Cunt Monkey number 1.
Here, to put it simply. On top of this, many felt as though the snakes didn't have a particularly fun way of playing, as they locked down a specific area of the game and farmed it, all the while taking on group fights to snowball their growing advantage. On the day of the finale, tensions were high. Odablock broke over 100,000 concurrent viewers, and simultaneously the Old School and RuneScape streams had a collective concurrent viewership of over 150,000. To say that this event gained traction would be an understatement. As the Warriors began their first fight, it wasn't looking good. Good players fell early, and in this King of the Hill style system, the person who defeated the other remained in battle, granting the opposing team the ability to snowball an advantage. The cards did not look to be in the Warriors' favor, but Odablock himself hadn't yet stepped in the ring. As the bell rung and his character moved in, he disconnected. His entire home was DDoSed, and the competition, for a brief moment...
Do you know why that happens? Do you know why they DDoSed his home? Because there's going to be an online betting pool somewhere where people are betting money on whether he wins or loses, and the way you guarantee that he loses and you make as much money as possible is you DDoS his home. Bang. Real world money getting involved. This happens with league games all the time.
Was put on hold.
Of the Warriors, what can he do to claw this fight back?
Come on, you are Odablock. Play like Odablock.
No, I think this is actually a tactical decision. With
Really?
his sigils, yeah. He's got the sigil of the Meticulous Maid, so he's got that extra 40 accuracy bonus, so he can...
Those bets need a DDoS clause. They won't get a DDoS clause because the people who run the site are in on it. These are not like upstanding sites.
Afford to sit in this tanky Verak skirt for some of the freezes.
That's
when
me
he
told.
knows...
Was it like instantly or after a little bit?
So, somebody did ask me, bro. It has to be because I didn't even start yet. I didn't even start yet. As soon as I crossed the border, I DC'd. Wow, that's so fucking cringe. I don't know what to do. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what to do.
That hurts.
The phone, the hotspot, just can't. It can't hold it. It can't hold.
Are you able to change house? People are spamming. I'm not sure if that's viable. Like, how long would it take you? If that could happen, how long would that take you?
I could try.
Why is Taliban playing RuneScape? No, he's not. He doesn't have the turban.
Yeah, I could try. Yeah, maybe like 5 minutes. I could just run to a different house.
He rushed over to a friend's home, mouse and keyboard in hand, in an effort to continue
What
the
a
fight.
lad. God
However,
damn.
it just wasn't the same. It is one thing to play on a friend's setup, and that alone doesn't feel great. But to do so in such a high-stakes, high-skill competition, it's borderline impossible. While he performed admirably,
See, what this man actually needed was he needed a secondary internet connection that he could, like, switch over to. Gotta think about this shit. If you're doing this competitive stuff, yeah.
his misclicks were noticeable. The precision needed to play old school RuneScape well is beyond any other MMO, so even a small change in setup create massive gaps in performance. Ultimately, the Warriors...
No! My fucking Excel spreadsheets! They're not set up the way I want them to be! I'm sorry, I know I'm being a dick, but that's actually real harsh. That's real fucking bad for this poor guy. That's rough. Secondary internet connection like your ISP. No, I'm talking like you got your regular connection and then you've got like satellite internet that you could just like pull cable up, shove cable in and say fuck you to people.
Performed well, but they did not win. Their matches were the most watched, and in many ways, after their elimination, that story concluded. I bring up these two somewhat similar examples to showcase an overlap, a way to engage with the game that sometimes doesn't put the game first. This engagement uses it to uplift something else entirely, a community-driven event, a creator-designed story.
Wait, there's precision in this fucking game. Absolutely. Absolutely. You misclick on the wrong Excel spreadsheet block in your inventory, you're dead. You're dead. You're done. It just happened to that guy. Nobody cares about Oda. Well, I don't know anything about the guy, so I can't say whether that's true or not. But apparently people cared enough to watch that stream. Apparently it was one of the most watched matches. It was cared about enough that it got into this guy's video.
A personally aspired to goal. The overlap between old school RuneScape and WoW Classic isn't systemic. These games aren't similar. As Sodapoppin said while watching some OSRS videos, RuneScape is the bane for WoW players. It utilizes an entirely different skill set that doesn't translate. You'd think that would be a point of aversion, yet it isn't, because the point of connection is far more important for a lot of people. WoW players might be looking for something more permanent as they currently linger in the seasonal lull, a period—
They're not looking for something more permanent. Well, maybe they are. I think they're looking for something that holds weight. That feels like it is of significant value.
between when their progress finished and when they must start it all again. A point of reflection that surely has some ask, why do I want to do it all again? To summarize, the lull that World of Warcraft is in currently, as every version of the game is between releases, has made its most prolific content creators branch out. This may not be a permanent investment, but it surely is interesting to see. These two old titans of the industry are still rubbing shoulders, but the balance of power might have started to change. If there's ever a time to visit old school RuneScape, it's now, on the cusp of its largest update. The benefit of it being a curated sandbox is that each edition is additive. The game has only become larger with time. It doesn't cannibalize itself with seasonal content. That alone could be something interesting to players.
So basically they just keep building out on the world instead of replacing the world with ever size decreasing components that matter like WoW does. I think there's another reason that he's missing as to why old school RuneScape and WoW are at odds with each other. And I think it comes down to this. What's the worst thing you can be in World of Warcraft? If you're in a raid, if you're in PvP, if you're doing any kind of group content, what's the worst thing you can be? Anyone who's played WoW knows this. LFR hero, no. It's worse than that. A gnome, fair, but no. A clicker. You click anything in WoW, and you will hear an hour-long conversation in a Discord call about how much people will fucking hate you for that. What do you do in RuneScape? It's nothing but clicking. It's like you have to do the thing you've been trained to never do ever.
That have become so accustomed to being cannibalized. I was one of them, after all, tired of spending months earning what became cosmetic overrides devalued by a glut of cosmetic overrides. WoW felt like it was shrinking, not in player base per se, but as a world. With every addition, with every update, the amount of land expands, but the relevant content only inhabits a smaller and smaller fraction of it. It was refreshing.
Yeah, I've explained this before, right? So, World of Warcraft works like this, right? Base game. You've got all this space to explore. Amazing, incredible. Maybe this amount of it is endgame content. New expansion releases. Now, all of this, every single piece of this, is irrelevant and doesn't matter. New expansion releases. Now, everything you did here is irrelevant and doesn't matter. New expansion releases. Now, everything you did here is irrelevant and doesn't matter. Oh, and let's not forget, this is the progression through the game, and this little bottom bit is the end game content. Same thing happens next expansion. Same thing happens next expansion. Eventually, all that matters in WoW is the most recent expansion endgame content, and everything else that you've ever done through the entire fucking game for years of your life is beyond irrelevant. Doesn't matter at all.
Refreshing to step into a world as persistent as my kitchen and the roof over my head. The long-form nature of old-school RuneScape's progression incentivized me to pursue the grind, rather than recoil from it, because I knew that every time I inched closer to my goal, that goal wouldn't leap ahead by miles every half year.
Essentially, what he's saying is that old-school RuneScape doesn't take your progression away from you and make it feel meaningless.
It would remain, and a new goal would be added somewhere between or somewhere after. Retail doesn't offer a home, even when the developers are hard at work on the player-owned housing system, because retail is as acommunal as possible. There is almost no emergence within its body because the intent of the game has disconnected.
You know, I've got a fucked up tinfoil hat conspiracy theory about player housing in video games. I think 80% of the time, when a game adds in player housing, it's a sign that things are going wrong. World of Warcraft is now adding in player housing. No, everyone considers the game irrelevant. SWTOR, player housing. WildStar, player housing. New World, player housing. Now, Guild Wars 2 is maybe the 20% where it worked. But my crazy, insane, probably wrong conspiracy theory about player housing is that it's almost like a tacit admission of death. It's like courting the collapse of a game.
Connected entirely from its roots as an MMORPG. There is no core leveling experience, no overworld organization, no coordination needed for anything that isn't small group instanced content. It's a game split down the middle, a single-player lonely adventure through a barren overworld, flitting between checklist slop and the next instance dungeon, and the
Man, Shadowlands did so much damage to WoW. Like, Shadowlands was genuinely the expansion that fucked up WoW beyond belief. Like, Cataclysm was like the beginning of the end. Shadowlands honestly feels like the end of the end. And BFA. BFA was just more. It was just more on the pile.
Instance dungeon itself. For those that love this about retail, the ability to hop into a game and in a weekend find yourself caught up to everyone else, that's perfect, and likely why most would feel alienated by RuneScape. On the other hand, Classic WoW offers a bountiful leveling experience. The heights of OnlyFangs were never the raids, they were the journey to get to them. The leveling of Classic is, for those who do it, amongst the best gaming experiences because it effortlessly mixes flow state calm with heart-pumping danger, especially on hardcore servers. Old school RuneScape is something different. It is a game on a separate path. Mad Season is a Classic WoW content creator who has cataloged his journey into old school RuneScape without guides, and for those who have watched his videos have surely seen, I
actually thought he stopped for a while. I saw a goodbye video from Mad Season, and I didn't know he was back. Or maybe I did. I can't even remember. Man, I've got a memory like a fucking sieve. The last thing I can remember in my dementia-riddled brain was him saying, I'm taking a break from WoW. I'm going to be gone for a while.
Season is pulling from game knowledge outside of his classic World of Warcraft pool because the skill set he obtained through WoW has not translated. But the appeal of slowly, often arduously moving through the world and becoming lost in the maze of systems and incomprehensible functions has evoked feelings that leveling in Classic
Wait, it wasn't him. Dude fucked up. It was Guzu, I think. Well, no, maybe I'm misremembering. Let's check. Let's check. I must when World of Warcraft was just a game. Blah blah blah. Let's see. He's playing fucking Escape from Tarkov of all things. Yeah, maybe I'm thinking of Guzu. Yeah, I'm probably misremembering it. You're probably right.
Did. Not today, when leveling has become expected and understood, but back then, before the re-release, when every step felt fresh.
That was a good video. That was actually a pretty solid explanation of why people are actually in RuneScape instead of WoW currently, and why at least the content creators are leaving. Let's just drive this point home, right? If we're going to look at this specifically from a streamer standpoint, right? Let's take a look at where World of Warcraft currently is.
No, go down. Go down.
What is the most popular streamer currently playing WoW? Payo, I recognize. 2.3k viewers. So it's doing better than the last time we checked on it. Because last time was 3 figures was the highest streamer. Now let's check old school RuneScape. Then we'll check games on Salinome just to double check all these figures. Whoa, fuck me. Something tells me one of these people's in the wrong category. Can you spot them? 1.6k views. 1.5, 1.4, 1k. So, these guys are 4 significant figures. Two 4 significant figure players. I mean 21.2k viewers, 12.1k viewers. Now, last time we checked, old school RuneScape had more viewers. Now, WoW has more viewers. Camel Took is a class in RuneScape. I'm curious. But I wonder if I get banned. I need to know. I need to know. Old school Goonscape. What did I fucking say? Remember I told you. Remember I said there was a story. I told you every single RuneScape player that I knew in school was a fucking gooner. Jacking their dick like fucking 12 hours a day. I want a boyfriend.
Fire TV has so many great recommendations.
Yeah, serves up the best options from all my apps in one place. It's like it knows what I want to watch before I do.
They fucking know. They know. The ethos know. Look at the titties on that fucking VTuber. They know. They've discovered the formula. They know. They understand old school Goonscape. Oh my god. Oh, there's 14. You know what? Let's check. Let's check Salinome first. Just take a look at the game. See what we're looking at here. We've had some spikes over here. And then we've got a downward trend since about What, beginning of the year? How's old school Goonscape doing? Oh boy. One of these is moving up, the other is moving down. Oh man. Oh man. But you know, at some point they're gonna get tired of RuneScape. They'll probably go back to WoW. Let's be honest. God damn, look at this. The Gooners know. They know what they're doing. Old school Goonscape. Ah, always coming through with the material, huh? And you see none of that in the WoW category. You see none of that in the WoW category. Because these bitches aren't figuring out how to play World of Warcraft. Oh my god. You can tell these ethos are like, WoW is too complicated. Oh my god. But in RuneScape, I can just like click around. Oh god. It's beautiful. Probably when the next patch drops. You're probably not wrong, Tyler. I think it's kind of like what he said in the video, where there's a lull in the content in WoW right now, and because of that, people are moving away, and the second that there's some kind of content in WoW, they're going to move right back. WoW added the one button rotation, so it's perfect for them. Yeah, but they don't read... You think these people read patch notes, Moonstone? You think any of these people know how to read? WoW too woke now. Yes, that as well. Oh my god. I can click around, but like... WoW's too complicated. Plus, can you imagine one of these like bitches with their ass on the camera playing WoW? WoW people are so deep in the source. WoW is boring to watch. Absolutely. WoW is so deep in the fucking source that like any viewer who goes onto Twitch and sees an ethot playing WoW is probably going to yell at her for how she's playing the game, and instead of jacking off. He's like, like WoW players are sitting there like, oh, you make my dick softer than warm ice cream. You play like shit. Old school Goonscapers though. Yeah. You know what the thing is, Sayonara? You say that WoW is boring to watch like OSRS isn't? The difference is, WoW, to be good at WoW, you have to focus. If you're focusing, that means you're paying less attention to your chat, right? If you're going to be playing at some high level. If you're paying attention to the chat playing WoW, you're getting shit on by the people for not being better at WoW. RuneScape, a viewer who's never played RuneScape before can watch RuneScape, know what the fuck is going on in the game, and get an interaction with the streamer, because the streamer doesn't really have to pay attention to the game. Hence why the ethos are there. Oh my god, thank you for the $500. I'd definitely suck your dick if you came to my house.